In this session, we are going to talk about the if statement. In real life, both in real life and in Java programs, there are many scenarios where the execution of one code block is determined based on a condition. Only when the condition is met, we will execute this block of code or take a certain action. For example, if it's raining, then go out with the umbrella. Here, if it's raining, is a condition. When this condition is met, when it is true, then we will go out with the umbrella. If this condition is not true, then we will not take an umbrella action. And the condition is called a Boolean expression. It will only have two values, two possible values. Either it's true or it's false. In Java, we use if statement to carry out this logic. It will decide whether a section of code will be executed or not. The if statements use a Boolean expression to decide whether the next statement or block of statements will execute. And the syntax is like this. If parenthesis with a Boolean expression inside the parenthesis, execute next statement, which is a statement. So we can use a flowchart to further demo how this is done. If it's code outside, where code? What it should have been written is if parenthesis code outside. If this is true, if this is yes, then the execution flow goes to this where code block. If it's not code outside, if the Boolean expression is false, then we will not go into this where code block. It will not be executed at all. You can also use a block if statement if you have multiple actions. If the multiple action has to be taken when the Boolean expression is true. So here, is that code outside is a Boolean expression. If it's true, then we will execute the following actions one by one in this order. If the Boolean expression is not true, then none of these actions will be taken. And in order to signify that all these statements belongs to the if statement, we are putting a curly brace to make it a full statement block as a part of the if statement. Boolean expression, the majority of the Boolean expression is actually just a relational operation, which tests the relative position of the two operands. We are very familiar with the greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. And in Java, equal to is a double equal sign. You cannot use a single equal sign for equal to comparison. Of course, if you made this mistake, write a single equal sign in the comparison expression, Java will notice that and will complain about it. And the not equal sign is exclamation mark plus an equal sign. A Boolean expression is any variable or calculation that results in a true or false condition. Basically, it's a two operands associated with one relational operator, greater than x greater than y, x less than y, x equals to y, x not equals to y. And here are some sample expression statements, if statements. If x greater than y, do this. If x equals to y, do this. If x not equals to y, do this whole block. All three will be executed. So let's take a look at the average score Java file. And this Java file pretty much follows what we taught in the previous session. You have the Java doc comments, which make it a framework, a good code frame. And then inside of the code, you start by 3 inputs. And basically this code will get 3 scores from user input and calculate the average. So it starts by getting 3 inputs. And these code blocks are properly separated using blank line. Then the processing part is calculating the average. And finally, after processing, we're outputting the result. And so far, everything is in the same track as what we have discussed. Input, output, input calculation, output, and the code blocks separated by empty space. But in the end, there's a little bit twist where you have if average greater than 95, then do this part. Of course, the default says if the average is not 95, then you will not get this message saying it's a great score. And what if I change this to average equals to 95? Of course, my intention was if average equals to 95. But here you get the error. It says cannot convert from double to Boolean. Basically, it says this one is not a Boolean expression. So it cannot be placed into parentheses of the if statement. You need to have a double equal to signify that's what you are trying to do. So let's get back to 95 and let's run. And you get a score number 1, let's say 98. Score number 2, 98 again. Score number 3, 98 again. And now the average score is 98, of course. And you get this great score. Now, what if I run this again and input as 76, and second score 76 again, third score 76 again, and now we get the average is 76, and you see this terminated without the that's a great score message box, because this block is never executed if average is less than 95. An if statement can span more than one line. However, it's still one statement. This is something we can see from here. It actually spans 3 lines, but as we know, Java will ignore all the white space. So all the new line and space are ignored. To Java, it's the same as this. But we are breaking it up so that it's easier for us to see. But you need to know that although they look different, and this one is easier to see than easier to understand than this one, they are functionally equivalent. But rule of thumb is the conditionally executed statement should be on the line after if statement. We should break them up into 2 lines so that it's easier to understand. And the conditional execute statement should be indented 1 level, like this. If a statement does not have a block curly brace, it's ended by the first semicolon encountered after the if statement. And this was some further discussion in our next video.